Well, let's dive into this Republican win on tax reform. CNN global economic analyst Rana Farooha joins me now from New York. Great to have you with us, Rana. The president is certainly very satisfied this morning in light of all the drama that's currently surrounding his presidency and his inner circle. How much does he need this win right now?
It's the best thing that could have happened to him. It's really amazing to me because until quite recently, you had 8 Republican senators who were on the fence. The last couple of days, you saw an incredible amount of horse trading. The Republicans absolutely went to the mat on this. I was in Washington yesterday. It was really touch and go until the last minute. But this is exactly what he's been gunning for. It was going to be very hard, not only for Trump, but for the entire Republican Party to go into the midterms in the spring saying, hey, we had a majority and we got nothing done. So now, even though I think the tax plan is a terrible idea for economic reasons, it is a political victory, no doubt, for them.
Yeah, explain those economic reasons for us, because from what I've read, 60% of this will benefit the top 1%, and it could leave the U.S. with an additional $1 trillion in deficit.
Right, and that deficit is exactly what certain Republicans were actually worried about. If you remember, there was a big debate until the last minute about whether or not there should be a sort of a trigger that if these tax cuts did not produce the growth that the president and Republicans said they would, that trigger would come into effect and that the cuts would go away. To my mind, and to a lot of other experts, that trigger means that they don't even believe their own numbers. There's not a lot of evidence, frankly, in the last 20 years to show that tax cuts create growth. And in particular, these cuts are going mainly to corporations, big corporations. The idea is that if we lower taxes on corporations, Americans and businesses would bring that $2 trillion cash hoard that they have sitting overseas back to the U.S. and invest it. Unfortunately, in order to do that, you need to see demand. And we are at the end of a recovery cycle here in the U.S. We've been in a recovery for almost a decade now. Most recoveries last between 8 and 11 years. We are due for a recession. And so I don't think you're going to see consumers spending. I don't think you're going to see that kind of demand that really would create business investment here at home.
And Rana, because this particular bill is tied to health care, millions more Americans could lose health insurance.
That's right, and that's another thing that one of the Republican senators, Susan Collins from Maine, was actually quite worried about. It's interesting because, you know, Americans have very mixed feelings about health care. We have a very complicated system here. But what's become clear is that a lot of people on both sides of the spectrum actually liked Obamacare, and particularly in poorer red states, there was a sense that, well, we like having some kind of a safety net there. It'll be interesting to see, again, as we probably go into a slowdown of some kind in the next few years, and health care becomes an issue for many Americans, whether that has a negative knock-on implication on the economy.
And we've got, of course, the House of Representatives and the Senate passing 2 different versions of this bill. How do they reconcile this?
Well, it's a very good point. So what we've seen Friday is a big victory, no doubt, for Republicans, but there are more steps to come. The House and the Senate have to vote on the same bill, pass that bill, and then get it to the president's desk. So there are more hurdles to go here, but undoubtedly this is a big one. And, you know, I think that you'll probably see the markets respond on Monday.
We saw a lot of Democrats, Rana, complaining that they didn't get a chance to actually read through the bill, and we saw congressional negotiators continue right up to that last moment, handwriting changes on the bill. How unusual is that?
Hugely unusual. I mean, you've seen the pictures. It's unbelievable. It looks like a high school report that someone has marked up. I mean, it's really, it is really unprecedented. And particularly when you think about how complicated the U.S. tax code is. Healthcare is complicated. Tax is arguably more complicated. So to have a policy debate going on in real time and have a bill of this kind being marked up is unprecedented and, to my mind, a little bit dangerous.
Rana Farooha, good to get your perspective and analysis on all of that. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.